Our hero Kurosaki decides to catch us up from where we last saw him on Comic Guzzlers. Since he was done with the Evergreen Dungeon, he wanted to try out some other training grounds, and the Grand Blue Dungeon proved to be the perfect spot. He states that he was definitely shocked when he saw the second floor of the Evergreen Dungeon, but this was on a whole other level. He could even see the little island in which he came, so looping back was not an issue. Thanks to Kurosaki's adapt skill, he could also breathe easily underwater, which meant he didn't have to worry about oxygen either. What he did have to worry about, though, was combat. We see some fish monsters charging at Kurosaki, and he complains about the fact that he can't freely swing his sword, unless it's a part of some skill. Having a harpoon or something would have definitely helped him, but there's no time to be considering such options. So he simply flew up into the air and decided to check the dungeon for more items. Suddenly, a giant marlin monster jumped out of the water to attack him, but this was actually our hero's specialty, so taking it down was child's play for him. This monster ended up dropping a black gem, after which Kurosaki's fairy girl Epsilon showed up with another announcement. It had to do with the management rights of the dungeon, but Kurosaki is not too familiar with such terms. Either way, he decided not to worry about it and went back home to all his slave girls. We're back to the present now, as everyone is glad to see their master return to them. The girls take a look at the fish he's got with him, and then Kurosaki asks them if they know how to cook it. The girls look at the fish as if it's some kind of alien, and say that they don't really know how to prepare such a big creature when it's in its whole form. Our hero is a bit surprised that his maids don't know how to cook seafood, but they explain that fish is a high-ranking ingredient, which is why it is not available in the cafeterias of the low-rank hero mansions. This actually makes sense because Kurosaki does not remember having fish ever since he was summoned to this world. Some of the slave girls state that they have had fish before, but it was not fresh, so it did not taste very good either. There's also the case of having leftover fish that was dried, but in such cases, even jerky would taste better. Since this is the first time the girls have seen a fish this big and colorful, Kurosaki is pushed to make them taste good seafood. He takes the giant fish and thinks back to the cooking techniques of Japan. He has heard about the three-piece fillet technique, but he does not know how to do it. Kurosaki wonders if he should just slice up the fish and hope for the best. But then one of his slave girls tugs at his shirt. It turns out to be Shinana, who is keen to slice up the fish with a blade in her hand. She does an excellent job, and this is also the first time we see her taking the lead on something. Her master and the other slave girls are amazed by her skills, so they clap for her to show their appreciation. Rina and the others ask Shinana to teach them her cooking skills, and this leads Kurosaki to figure that she must have helped her parents in the kitchen back in Japan. Now, it's time to have some fish, and the meat is prepared nicely for a proper dinner. The girls have a bite and are simply taken aback by how tasty it is. Anessa can't believe that something like fish can actually be so tasty, and Sylvia admits that it is nothing like the fish she had before. Rini also states that she might just like this meat more than any other form like chicken or beef. Shinana also seems to show her approval, although she is still not able to speak out loud. All this happiness reminds our hero of something, so we are taken to another flashback. Here, Kurosaki goes to the hero shop to present the fish he caught, and he surprises the shop owner with the size and freshness of it. He is in total shock, so he asks Kurosaki if he is actually a high-rank hero for being able to get such a product. After all, it's super expensive, but Kurosaki casually brushes it off by saying he just happened to get his hands on the fish. The shop owner figures he should not be asking too many questions, so he hopes Kurosaki will share this fish with everyone. He then asks our hero if he would like to join in on the shady activities for today, and the evil smile on his face suggests the only answer is yes. As the men partake in unspeakable acts with other maid girls, we see another girl showing up to the shop. She wants to check up on an item she had requested for before, but she does not see anyone at the desk. The maid girl does not know what she should do now, but then she notices the giant fish on the table. It is simply not possible for such an item to be present over here, so the maid girl is in total shock. She assesses the fish's skin and realizes from the texture that it has not been preserved at all. As a matter of fact, the fish seems to have been caught very recently, which is surprising to the girl because she is the daughter of the fishing company's heir. If she is here, then there is no way for anyone else to enter the Grand Blue Dungeon. The only other people who can enter this dungeon belong to the royal family, but the maid girl doubts they would allow other soldiers to enter with their permission. After some guesswork, she realizes that someone else must have gained the management rights to the dungeon. This does not make sense because the girl has never heard of anyone defeating the guardian of the Evergreen Dungeon. It's a behemoth who only passes on the management rights to the dungeon once it is defeated for good. It's actually so powerful that the last time it was defeated was 300 years ago. If the behemoth was actually beaten again, then there would have been a lot more fanfare about it. The maid girl realizes that she must tell her family about this, so that they can investigate the matter. Considering what's at stake, the family have no other choice but to deploy an infamous gang to do their bidding. They include 2 curvy babes who are known as the Canine Hunting Squad, or the Hound Witches. Now, we move to the low-rank hero mansion where it's been 14 days since the schoolboys were summoned into this world. We can see 3 low-rank heroes fidgeting around, and Kurosaki laments that they are being way too nervous for the appraisal that is about to happen. Our hero knows that being nervous about something is not going to solve any problems, so he simply waits while the standard checkups get done for the mid-rank heroes. Now, we see an odd device that looks like a modified mirror. It is used to carry out the status appraisal and can also perform changes in class. Of course, this does not matter to Kurosaki because he has Epsilon to change his class for him. Our hero also realizes one more thing, which is that none of the other boys from his squad seem to have a navigation spirit fairy like Epsilon. As a matter of fact, even the mid-rank heroes don't seem to have any fairies by their side, so he wonders if they had skipped their tutorials or something like that. It would not be a good idea for anyone to skip a tutorial, but anyway, our hero is just glad that he has Epsilon to guide and take care of him as he continues with his shady life. Now, Kurosaki takes a look at Itu, who is happily sitting with Alice and does not seem to care at all about the appraisal process. He is very happy with his slave maid, and the happiness on his face almost makes Kurosaki jealous. Now, the door opens and Sylvia comes out to reveal that the appraisal process for the mid-rank heroes is taking a lot more time than expected. This does make the heroes more nervous because of the extra waiting time, but Kurosaki wants to know if there is some kind of trouble. Sylvia says that it's nothing to worry about because it's just that some of the heroes are not too happy with the results of the appraisal. There were 3 mid-rank heroes who got promoted to high rank, but there aren't only 3 fixed spots, so even more heroes could have gotten promoted as well. When a high-rank hero is made, there are lots of benefits to be had. First of all, there will be elite and innocent maid girls coming to your service, and in addition, there will also be various nobles and merchants that will become your patron, thus guaranteeing your future. Basically, if you become a high-rank hero, then you're pretty much going to become an elite as well. Kurosaki doesn't understand why a middle-rank hero would be upset over becoming a high rank, but that's none of his concern, so he goes ahead to get assessed. The results show his class level to be 0 and his normal level to be 3, which means that he is still a low-rank hero. Kurosaki calmly accepts the decision, but tells us that he did expect this to happen. After all, the results of this appraisal are false because he has used his disguise skill to keep his true stats hidden. If Kurosaki was shown to be a class holder, then he would have had to leave the low-rank mansion immediately. At the same time, if his level was too low, then he would probably get expelled from the castle for slacking off too much. Sylvia seems to be very puzzled by this, so she stares at Kurosaki, but he hopes she remains quiet till he explains everything to her later. Now, our hero wonders if things have gone as well as he would have imagined. He has a lot of maid wives, so if we keep that in mind, then maybe level 3 is too low for him. However, the appraisal boys are not too keen on checking for consistency as they are only concerned about what's there for lunch. It's pretty much the same over here as it is back on Earth when it comes to bureaucracy. Kurosaki does not need to worry about much for now, but then one of the low-rank heroes is promoted to mid-rank, and he seems to be extremely happy about it. He goes on a rant talking about how powerful he is, and he tells the others to address him as Sir. As expected, the other heroes are not at all happy with this because they took down the same number of monsters as the one who got promoted. They want to be assessed again, and it leads to high tensions. Seeing this makes Kurosaki realize that something similar might have happened with the mid-rank heroes as well. Suddenly, someone taps him on the shoulder asking for a favor, and it turns out to be Itu. As expected, Kurosaki gets creeped out, so he takes a moment to calm himself down from the jump scare he just got. He asks Itu what's up, but his heart is beating faster than what it was during his first time with a girl. Obviously in this case it's for different reasons, but for now, Itu is only interested in asking for a favor. He wants to learn the skill disguise as well, so he asks Kurosaki if he can teach it to him. Our hero is pleased to see this because it's the perfect example of an antisocial boy. However, he is also puzzled as to how Itu realized he was using the disguise skill for the assessment. That's when he decides to ask Itu if he heard that from a navigation spirit, to which he says yes. This makes our hero question the truth about everything, and he turns to Epsilon because she should have told him there were others like her. Of course, it could simply be a case of these fairy girls not liking each other. But then Kurosaki gets interrupted by Itu, who says that he only wants Alice. He has no interest in any other maid girls, and he finds it annoying how some of these maids always get in his way with Alice. These maid girls may go around calling Itu Master Hero in public, but then they go behind his back and make fun of him. Itu turns to the dark side as he wishes no other maid gets in the way of his romance with Alice. He would actually want these maids to drop to the floor lifeless, or even better, he would love to end all of them with his own bare hands. As expected, this is a bit too much for our hero to handle, so he tells Itu to calm down, even though he does understand why he is being so negative. Kurosaki eventually agrees to teach this skill to Itu, which makes him very happy, and he promises to pay back our hero. Alice also bows down to Kurosaki with gratitude, and then we shift to the bedroom where our hero engages in his regular shady sessions with his maid wives. Everyone is in attendance, so Kurosaki would like to go over everything again. His objective with his maid girls is to live a safe, peaceful, and enjoyable life together while also raising their kids. This means that it would be ideal not to get involved with any mid-rank heroes, as that could lead to a power struggle. Rini agrees with her master, and then Anessa states that she has heard some very unsettling rumors. Apparently, there have been some mysterious disappearances among the mid-rank maids, which is quite alarming. This means being in the low-rank mansion is much better for everyone, but it also meant that the head maid Sylvia would need to be more patient. After all, if Kurosaki buys her, then the mansion will have to hire a new head maid, which he can't afford, as the status quo needs to be maintained. After all, Sylvia can help him and the others from getting kicked out of this section in case newer heroes got summoned over here. Epsilon further explains that the exact summoning period is unknown, so nobody can accurately predict it. There's also the fact that when a summoning target is spotted, then the summoning is triggered only when there are 30 other people in his vicinity, and all of those people also come along with him. This is a bit disturbing to Kurosaki, but it makes perfect sense. After all, high school students have a long life ahead of them, and are always found in large groups during school hours. Sometimes, older people in crowded trains are also summoned, but they don't have as much use as a younger stallion. Kurosaki asks Epsilon if this would be a problem because if so many people get summoned regularly, then it would make the headlines instantly. The fairy girl states that every summoning is done from a parallel world chosen at random, so it is not a problem at all. However, our hero argues that a lot of care and attention have gone into these mass kidnappings, so things are not as simple as they may seem. Our hero believes that it would be better to destroy this kingdom, but he does not want to do it himself as he just wants to enjoy with his maid wives. Rini then states that even the children of unaffiliated heroes get money from the kingdom for a short period of time. That is not the case with a low-rank maid like herself, so she would simply be grateful to get pregnant. Kurosaki tells Rini that she needs to value herself more because her practical thinking is very useful. After all, his long-term plans didn't just involve shady acts and romance. He also thought a lot about money and finances, which is why he will need a girl like Rini to help him out. There is a Hero Protection Institute in place for such things, but it is hard to say whether that would be a good thing for our hero or whether it would simply put him in further danger. Now, the girls mention management rights, and this grabs Kurosaki's interest because he's heard that term before. Now, he learns that extra rewards can be earned by taking down the bosses of the dungeons, also known as guardians. This is essentially what management rights is supposed to mean, and then we learn that this is what unlocks the dungeons in the first place. These rights allow people other than heroes to enter their corresponding floors, and with this permission, normal citizens can gather food and other resources from the dungeons. This is essentially how the kingdom has been able to survive for so long. Now, we realize that the various floors of the Evergreen Dungeon are rich sources of food, and the kingdom will never yield them under any circumstances. So, if there are any heroes who secure the management rights to these floors, then the kingdom will pull out all the big guns to secure them. Since our hero has management rights as well, he is slowly starting to see why the kingdom keeps summoning heroes over here. He confirms once again that in order to secure these rights, he will need to go against guardians who are supposed to be very strong. The girls confirm that these monsters are at a much higher level than anything else, which is troubling for our hero. After all, he had to endure a lot just to defeat the Scarecrow monster, and if there are guardians stronger than him, then it will be a serious pain for Kurosaki. Our hero wants to know more about these management rights, so the girls tell him it's possible for the hero to pass down these rights to the children he plants into this world's women. If they do this, then the hero loses his rights, but can gain them again if he beats the guardian again. Rini adds that she has heard a rumor of certain floors and dungeons only being restricted to royalty and special rank heroes. Due to this, the royal bloodline is trying to monopolize their own seed. After all, these rights were earned only by the heroes themselves, but the kingdom is messing things up due to their own greed. Now, in order to get things in order, Kurosaki tells us that if he has to become a high-rank hero, then he will have to leave behind his maid wives. Not just that, he will also have to become a seed factory for the nobles. Plus, he will most likely be asked to go into the dungeons again and again so that he can gain management rights to other dungeons for the nobles. This is more than enough for Kurosaki to declare that he will not do anything to stand out or be recognized by the people of this world. He will simply hunt down the easiest guardians and then pass the management rights of the dungeons to his children. On this note, Sylvia experiences a massive explosion and she gets fertilized by our hero. Now, Kurosaki is asked if he would like to pass down the management rights of any of his dungeons to the child inside Sylvia, but this has become a bit confusing now for him. Before we can get any further explanation on this, we see Kurosaki in the middle of an open field. He has his weapons and is looking around for a bit and he finds a bull. However, this is no ordinary bull, but rather the guardian of the rumble pasture, known as Cannibal Pass. This beast has a scary ability known as the Evil Eye, which has the ability to paralyze its target within sight. Of course, since Kurosaki is a solo player, this final boss is his natural enemy. Normally, this would be a tough fight, but since our hero can fight in the air, this guardian gets reduced to nothing more than beef stew. One slice is all it takes for him to defeat the bull, and then the black gem drops, which means he is ready to take the management rights to this dungeon. Now that he has done this, the other rights holder would have lost his stake in the dungeon, so the kingdom will need to summon someone else to come and take those rights back. There's also the case of rights being transferred down to children, and since Kurosaki has become totally familiar with the game now, he has decided that the rights to the rumble pasture will go straight to Anessa's tummy, meaning her child will get these rights. Of course, Anessa's kid has been kept on hold, so this is more like an advance booking for when she does get pregnant. Now, the maid girl does not know of the pause effect caused by her master, and he has no intention of revealing it to her either. Next up is Rini, who is being given the Demeter plant dungeon rights. She happily accepts the gift, but is a bit shocked that her master has been able to gain the rights to so many dungeons. As a matter of fact, he himself is quite shocked that he was able to achieve this, but then again, it's because Epsilon decided not to include the most important part of the explanation. The girls have no idea about the fairy girl, but Kurosaki also decides to leave it at that, and then he moves to Shinano. He wants to give her the rights to the Ripple Ocean dungeon, but the other maid girls are alarmed by this, so they ask him to stop joking around. Our hero does not understand why his slave girls are being so paranoid about this, so they explain that the Ripple Ocean is the first floor of the Grand Blue Dungeon, which is a legendary entity. Only a high-rank hero was able to clear the dungeon's first floor, and that too, a long time ago. It was thanks to these rights that the Ely Shaun family gained access to the dungeon floor, which allowed them to harvest the marine life there. This led to tons of revenue via circulation in the market, but there was only one set of rights which could be passed down to their family bloodline. Now, Kurosaki realizes that he is going to face a lot of headaches because the rights to this dungeon gate are in high demand. He then stops from passing the rights to Shinano, and he tells his maid girls to keep him having these rights a secret. Now that our hero knows who has a stranglehold on the fish market, it makes sense for seafood to be considered a luxury over here. Unfortunately, he did not know any of this before handing over the fish to the hero shop, which means he may have just ruined his own plan. He hopes that all will be well because it was just the one time, but we quickly learn that all is not well as we shift to the hero shop. The shop owner has a blade pointed right at him by the Hound Witches and their boss. The boss is a weird man in a robe, and he wants to know from where the shop owner got the fresh piece of fish. Of course, the shop owner does not want to sabotage Kurosaki, so he tries to plead ignorance by saying he has no idea about any fishes. He also wants to know who these people are because of their strange outfits, so one of the girls brings out her whip and smashes it into the desk to completely destroy it. The shop owner is just about able to dodge this attack, but he realizes that he is dealing with the power of two female heroes. The shop owner says sorry to Kurosaki, and then decides to reveal the truth about the fish to these evil goons. Now, we move to our hero, who is planning to get some more management rights. He will continue to keep the rights that may prove to be troublesome to himself, and states that he will go to collect the rights to the Demeter plant floor once more. Kurosaki also considers going to a new floor called Agriland, because this way, he will be able to assign the rights to these dungeons to both Shinano and Sylvia. After all, it is always good for his maid wives to have some kind of insurance if anything were to happen to him. Rini gets worried by this kind of talk because it suggests that her master might just lose his life. He tells her that it's just for insurance, and he will make sure that he does not do anything too reckless. However, at the same time, he tells us that in the event of his demise, his maid's eggs are set to implant by themselves. This will allow them to survive via the aid provided by the kingdom, but of course, he does not want to make his maid wives worry for him. Before he leaves for his mission, Rini tells him that the rights to the outer layer of the Last Heaven dungeon are all passed down by the royal family. This is news to our hero, so he asks about the Sky Forest and Sun Scarlet dungeons. However, his maid girls don't know anything about these dungeons, so he will need to wing it solo over here. Kurosaki figures that regular people may not know about such dungeons, or perhaps they are being kept as a secret from them by the kingdom. Now, We shift to an apocalyptic city scene where a strange man stands atop a broken building and declares that he has arrived inside the legendary Last Heaven dungeon. Since he is first in line for the throne, only he is allowed to set foot over here. The man walks around, looking for a trinket, and then he comes across what looks like a broken-down camera. He decides to use this as proof of him completing the dungeon, so that he can ascend to the throne smoothly during the succession ceremony. Even so, he considers this to be a waste of time and decides to head back to his mansion so that he can continue to spread his seed. It might be an obligation for someone of his stature, but at the same time, he does not mind engaging in shady activities. We then learn that when female heroes are summoned from another world, they get to be examined by the royal family first. The sad truth, though, is that these poor girls are nothing more than livestock for the men of this world. After these female heroes give birth to a royal successor, they are given a royal grant. Of course, it is definitely convenient to have such cute and curvy babes to do shady things with whenever you want, and the prince states that the exclusive girl he has is particularly great. He starts to think of all the things he would like to do to her once he returns. But then he comes across Kurosaki all of a sudden. This is a very random moment, and our hero does not want to take any second chances. So he launches a direct hit at the prince without any hesitation. This is more than enough to send the prince flying away, but our hero laments that he has attacked someone out of a mere reflex. Upon closer inspection, he notices that this man is not dressed like a hero or a random citizen from the kingdom. This makes him remember what Rini had told him about only royalty being able to enter this dungeon. That means the person he has attacked is from the royal family, but even then, Kurosaki wonders if such a useless person can ever come from a royal bloodline. He had gotten Epsilon to check on the requirements for entering the dungeon, and she managed to set him a warp gate. This allowed Kurosaki to be sent to the Last Heaven, much to his surprise. This makes our hero think about his visit to the Grand Blue Dungeon as well. After all, only a person who is able to defeat the Behemoth Guardian can enter that dungeon. However, Kurosaki had not beaten the Behemoth, and he was still able to enter the dungeon. It leads him to wonder if the information given to him was wrong all along. Maybe there is a bug in the leisure facility, but then Kurosaki takes a look at his fairy girl and figures it would be best not to question her knowledge. After all, she might just give him a lengthy answer which he won't be able to understand. On that note, our hero realizes that this is not a very big problem for him. As long as he doesn't get sick of visiting so many dungeons, he should be good to go. At the same time, he does not know what to do with the prince he just knocked out. Kurosaki states that the only sensible thing to do in this situation would be to take all of the prince's belongings. While he's at it, he decides to play a little prank on the prince as well, and we see it later when the prince wakes up. He does not seem to have any clothes on, but he does seem to remember bumping into someone. We can see that Kurosaki has done quite the number on his target as he has lost his hair and has some weird markings on his face. The prince does not know what to do here, but he does feel that he should hold off on all his shady activities for now. After all, it is quite shameful for someone of royal blood to be without his clothes and also blacking out. He then tells himself that there is no way for anyone else to be here apart from himself. This is because he is the only person with rights to the Last Heaven dungeon. Of course, that is quite far from the truth as we see Kurosaki defeating the guardian of this gate with ease. With this, he gains the management rights to the Happy Set floor of the Last Heaven dungeon as well. Of course, the battle is not over with just defeating the guardian because there are lots of other enemies to fight. On the Happy Set floor, some robots show up stating that an intruder has been spotted. Due to this, they have been given an automated order of exterminating the target. The only problem for them is that the target they are approaching is none other than Kurosaki himself. Our hero has equipped himself with a unique kind of weapon, and he uses it to shoot at the robots. One shot is all it takes to completely wreck the robots, and their combat systems get compromised due to the critical damage. Now that Kurosaki knows what he can achieve with this weapon, he goes ahead and destroys all the robots coming at him. He states that the Cosmo gun packs a massive punch and is proving to be a worthy drop item. Then Epsilon pops up and tells our hero that he can turn his weapon into a sword by using a trigger. Kurosaki is amazed by the wonders of technology in this world, and he goes ahead to have an absolute blast with his new sword weapon. He slashes through the robots as if they are made of bread, and is able to go through an entire army with minimum effort. The main advantage of sword mode over here is that Kurosaki can hit targets that are as far as 10 meters away. On top of that, his Cosmo sword has a really high attack power and does not even use up any of his mana points. Considering all of this, it pretty much looks as if our hero is playing on cheat mode now. Either way, he is happy with his new weapon, so he gladly accepts it. However, the danger is far from over as there are more robots charging at him with their weapons. These tech monsters keep coming at Kurosaki, and he does not have the time to engage with an endless army of robots. Our hero asks his fairy girl if she has the ability to take him out of the dungeon even though he is currently being attacked. She says that there is sufficient distance between Kurosaki and the robots for her to execute the transfer, but she asks her master if he is actually done exploring the dungeon. Kurosaki says he is indeed done here because there is no point in exploring the dungeon if the robots keep attacking him for no good reason. Even if he flies in the air, he is not safe from the weapons and lasers targeted at him. And the worst part is that these robots don't even drop any kind of food items, although that should have been obvious from the start. Now, our hero thinks about having a seafood rice bowl for the first time since he's come to this world, so a better bet would be to clear out the Grand Blue Dungeon instead of this one. Epsilon gets where her master is coming from, so she performs the transfer move on him. Kurosaki bids farewell to the dungeon and says that he does not intend on coming back here anytime soon. Now, we move back to the low-rank hero mansion where someone is lingering outside. It's none other than the daughter of the Ili Shaun family, who is currently looking for Kurosaki. After all, she knows that our hero was the one who gave the fish to the hero shop, so she needs to find some answers. She does not know how he got his hands on the fish or where it could have come from, but the more she thinks about it, the less it makes sense to her. There is no way for a low-rank hero to get his hands on the rights to the Ripple Ocean because he would not even be able to enter the Grand Blue Dungeon in the first place. The merchant maid believes there must be some kind of scheme going on, so she needs to learn more from Kurosaki herself. Of course, there is no way for her to deduce the truth through her own theories, so she must verify the facts with her own eyes rather than listening to the fake media. She is aware that she should not be doing something as risky as this, but then again, the Hound Witches are not really known for their subtlety when it comes to investigations. She takes a look around the cafeteria at first, but there is no mention of fish in the menu. Once again, the maid girl realizes that a smart man would not publicly display such a rare item, so she goes to check the kitchen area. We can see that Rini and Anessa are already over there, and they are cooking up a meal for their master. The maid girl wants to ask them about the fish, but she needs to figure a way to do it indirectly. However, before she can move ahead any further, a creepy hand comes at her from behind and grabs her. The maid girl lets out a scream, and it alerts Rini and Anessa from the kitchen. Rini goes to take a look at what's going on, but when she peeks out of the door, she realizes that the maid girl has been caught by the loser boys Suzuki and Takahashi. Our heroes' wives are both aware that this is rather unfortunate because those two losers started to work a lot harder after their buddy Satu became a middle-rank hero. The Ili Shaun family's daughter is not thrilled to be with such low lives, but such is the way of this world. She suddenly hears the maid wives greeting their master, so she decides to go and meet him, but then she gets grabbed for another session. Kurosaki can hear the commotion outside and comments that the loser boys are having a party with the free maid. He is happy that they are feeling motivated, but at the same time, he will not spare them if they decide to go for Sylvia, who cannot be his exclusive maid as she has to remain the head maid of the mansion. Kurosaki unlocks his demon mode, so Rini has to calm him down by saying the loser boys still know who to target and who not to target even when their intrusive thoughts have reached max level. There's also the fact that the other free maids go to the loser boys whenever it seems like they might go for Sylvia. Keeping this in mind, it does not look like the head maid will be attacked by the loser boys for now. This reminds our hero about Tanaka, who had tried to attack Anessa and got locked up for it. He was supposed to be getting out soon, but Kurosaki would prefer it if he stayed locked inside. We won't really hear about this character again, so our hero pretty much forgets that such a boy even existed. Anyway, it's time to get down to business, so Kurosaki presents a gift to Shinana, which consists of the management rights to the Rumble Pasture. Shinana usually does not really react a lot to anything, but when the rights get transferred to her belly, she does feel something odd. She holds her tummy and rubs it a bit, which makes Kurosaki a bit curious. He takes a look at his maid girl and believes that she is probably feeling fake emotions. It does make Kurosaki a bit sad, even though he has mostly forgotten feelings of sympathy due to the cruel nature of this world. Epsilon tells him that the procedure to suppress Shinana's feelings has already been completed, so if she were to nullify it, this would cause a lot of damage to her spiritual body. The fairy girl does not recommend going ahead with such a technique, but she still asks her master if he would like to proceed with it. This is extremely risky, and our hero does not want to destroy Shinana's spiritual body, so he asks Epsilon if there is a way to simply reverse what had happened to her earlier. The fairy girl states that once the procedure for suppression starts, it usually takes about a week to fully take effect. This is a problem because by the time Kurosaki had met Shinana, she had already been in her suppressed state for over a week. Effectively, this is her default state now, so Kurosaki really needs to think hard about what he wants to do with her. After some careful consideration, he decides that he will not do anything that may harm his maid girl. Plus, she does seem to be relatively happy in the present, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, Epsilon reveals that even though Shinana is in a suppressed state of intelligence, when she is not obeying orders, she does seem to demonstrate a priority for seeking out elementary consciousness. This means that right from the start, Shinana has had positive feelings of goodwill towards her master. Of course, Kurosaki doesn't take this too seriously because he knows that being with him is just marginally better than getting attacked by the shady men of the mid-rank mansion. Now, it's time to see things from Shinana's side, so that we can understand how she is truly feeling behind her mental suppression. We see her in the middle of a shady session with Kurosaki, and she seems to be liking what's being done to her. Shinana tells us that even though she got caught up in this horrible kidnapping scam of being summoned to another world, she is grateful that she has ended up with Kurosaki. She reveals that when she was in the real world, she could only watch our hero from afar and was not able to speak to him freely. Now, she achieves an explosion and tries to form a soul contract with our hero to free herself from her suppression, but she fails again. The probability for success is pretty much the same as winning a lottery, but it's fine because her master has promised to be by her side forever. Now we learn that even Shinana has a spirit navigator by the name of Theta, and she had instructed to him attempt the soul contract infinitely. Due to this, she believes that her wish will eventually come true. Now, we go to a flashback in her original world of Japan where everyone is in school and is trying to figure out their classes. Shinana is also here, and while she comments that it's nice to be with her friends, she is also with the boy she likes to call her boyfriend, who is none other than Kurosaki himself. Of course, she gets teased by the other students for feeling this way, and she tries to brush it off as nothing special. However, her friends continue to tease her because her face is way too easy to read. They consider spreading some rumors to attract Kurosaki's attention, and at this very moment, he passes by Shinana. She is not able to say anything to him, so her friends scold her for not being able to make the first move. One of Shinano's friends, known as Suzu Ran, tells her to act fast, otherwise some other girl will snatch Kurosaki for herself. She then heads to class and tells Shinano that it would have been great if the both of them were in the same class. She refers to Shinano as Big Sis, and this makes her emotional. Sadly, it was after this moment that the mass summoning happened, and Shinano found herself inside a cube room. Suddenly, she hears someone coming from behind, so she asks who it is. The being welcomes her to Ili Shaun, and he is revealed to be a hamster named Theta. He reveals that he is the navigation spirit who has been assigned to Shinano. Can't believe that the hamster is able to talk, but goes ahead to provide her real name, which is Kanano Fujiki. Theta completes her registration after hearing her full name because that is necessary to bond with a navigator spirit. He then tells Shinano that if she is not registered, then the game will start in hard mode for her. This would prohibit her from gaining skills and experience points, but Shinano has no idea of what all this even means. She wants to understand everything properly, so Theta suspends the transfer to the normal space. This allowed Shinano enough time to learn about all the shady things she was going to experience in the world she was being summoned to. Once she did get transferred, she was forced to wear a slave collar, as was every other girl. This was when the shady prince from earlier had his way with her. After this, Shinano and all her classmates were handed over to the soldiers for daily shoddiness. It was not a pleasant experience, but she did manage to achieve something important. On day 5 of the summoning, Shinano used her hero skills and Theta's powers to summon a duplicate of herself by using the skill Copy Doppel. Basically, before her thoughts became completely suppressed, Shinano was able to detach her external consciousness from her main body. However, she could still not stop the shady acts being done to her main body, and this continued for days on end. Her classmates were not spared either, but Shinano was being monopolized now by a certain Drake fan. Things got so bad for Shinano that she wanted to end him, as monopolizing was not allowed when it came to female heroes. Even the man's comrades hated him, but that's what you expect from a Diddy enthusiast. Now, we learn that usually only one egg is ovulated per month, but with a certain magical potion, multiple ovulations can be induced. Shinano needed to make herself conceive, but it had to be with the right man. And that was when she finally met Kurosaki and experienced the best explosion of her life. This led Shinano to do whatever she could to make sure that she would get fertilized only by our hero swimmers. This would be tough because she already had the diddler's fertilized egg inside her. But Shinano did not quit and went against all the odds to make it happen. After trying multiple times over the course of days, Shinano finally managed to succeed by removing the diddler's egg and accepting Kurosaki's fertilized egg. This made her extremely happy, and even though it was a desperate situation, she managed to get the result she so badly wanted. So at this point, it did not matter who would violate her because in the end, she would only give birth to Kurosaki's baby. In total, she was able to preserve 10 eggs of our hero, which meant that she could have his children for as long as 10 years. Then, of course, she was handed over to Kurosaki as his wife due to the mischief of another Drake fan who annoyed the diddler. The point Shinano is trying to make to us is that it does not matter what she might seem like on the outside because she is quite happy to be with her master on the inside. The horrible past she had to endure does not matter to her anymore because Kurosaki embraces her gently and treats her right. Now, we are back to the present where we see another confirmed implantation, but Epsilon tries to reject the eggs. That's when Theta shows up and tells Shinano's external consciousness that he has stopped Epsilon's moves, as he is a higher-ranking spirit. So, if Shinano wants, then she can give birth to this baby as well. This makes her wonder if her master also has a navigation spirit, but that does not matter to her because she currently has 30 fertilized eggs inside her, not just one which our hero told Epsilon to preserve. With this, Shinano's spirit's role is about to come to an end, with the soul contract being the only thing that's left for her to do. If she wins and gets registered in the management system as Kirasaki's bride, then nobody will be able to separate them. There's also the fact that our hero has transferred management rights to her baby, which makes her feel his love even more. Shinano then tells us that she truly loves her master and loves doing shady things with him. So she is glad that she was summoned to this world. Basically, she is telling the keyboard warriors not to act high and mighty without hearing her own words first. Now, it's time to get back to the actual action as we find ourselves inside the Evergreen Dungeon's third floor, known as the Granary Manor. We can see Kirasaki facing off against a giant beetle monster which is the guardian of this floor. He gets ready for combat, but it turns out to be an extremely easy win for our hero because of his Cosmo Gun. With this, he acquires the management rights to the Granary Manor floor as well. Kirasaki laments that this was not an exciting match, and it's actually a bit embarrassing for a guardian not to have long-range attacks. As he collects the black gem, our hero also states that guardians respawn as quickly as a day, so he would like to target them more often for the experience points. Of course, he would not want to fight the Scarecrow monster ever again because it took him a lot to defeat that creature. Kirasaki's current level is 8, which means that his physical enhancement has hit its limit, but his HP barrier value is still rapidly increasing. However, the lack of attack skills is still a problem for our hero, so he just goes ahead and stores his items in his warehouse skill. Now, Epsilon shows up and reveals to Kirasaki that if he reaches level 10, then he will be able to acquire a second class. If he is able to meet certain conditions, then he can also have a class change, but all of these terms are not making sense to him at all. Kirasaki does not know what the long-term effect would be for class changing, so he wishes he had a strategy guide or a Wikipedia page to help him out in such situations. For now, his best bet would be to level up 2 more times and then take a decision accordingly. Since he has gotten the management rights he needed, it's time for our hero to go back home. But before going to the mansion, Kirasaki wants to visit one more place. Basically, he wants to eat a bowl of seafood rice, so he wishes to gather the ingredients for it from the Grand Blue Dungeon. Our hero then changes the destination of the gate transfer and finds himself on top of the Great Sea. It's time to start collecting the ingredients like tuna, but before Kirasaki can do that, we see someone else appearing before him. It's a soldier who tries to swing his sword at Kirasaki, and he screams that he wants this foreign man to meet his end. However, he clearly seems to be lacking in brains as he misses his strike in embarrassing fashion without Kirasaki even needing to put in an effort. The idiot soldier screams at our hero for dodging his attack, but then he falls straight into the ocean as he does not have any flying abilities. Kirasaki is a bit confused by what he has just seen, so he confirms with Epsilon that the dungeon's teleportation circle connects to the same location if it is used right after someone else transfers there. This idiot soldier seems to have followed our hero using the same method. However, the problem for the idiot soldier is that this place is the Grand Blue Dungeon, which means that it is mostly covered in water. Since we are currently in the second floor, which is the Ocean Currents Marine, there is no land here at all, unlike the first floor. At the same time, the monsters in the ocean are deadlier than ever, as can be seen by the shark that is approaching the idiot Solider. The death shark appears and attacks the idiot soldier, completely ripping him to shreds in front of Kirasaki. Our hero can only comment that this is an extremely painful incident to witness, but he also wonders who this idiot soldier was and why he attacked him in the first place. After all, Kirasaki thought he had a friendly relationship with the soldiers, but maybe there are some who do not like summoned heroes. Now, we learn that the idiot soldier was actually the Drake fan who would activate Diddler mode to attack Shinano. Apparently, he did not like the fact that Kirasaki saved Shinano from his diddling ways, which was why he was waiting for the right time to land a sneak attack on Kirasaki. This explains the soldier's intelligence as well, and he is forgotten soon after the shark feeds on him, just like Drake's latest songs after his beef with Kendrick. Now, Kirasaki notices a lot of giant tentacles emerging from the ocean, with one of them having the death shark. The monster is revealed to be a giant octopus, and it crushes the death shard with ease. Our hero believes that this is the guardian of the floor because it is massive. Since the monster is unbelievably large, Kurosaki equips himself with his Cosmo gun and gets ready for battle. He assumes this is going to be tough, but he is able to destroy it quite easily with just one strike. Kurosaki also gains the management rights to the Ocean Current's marine floor, but he is a bit dissatisfied by how easy it was for him to win this match. He figures he might as well check out the third floor as well, because his Cosmos gun is way too powerful for the creatures of this dungeon. Now, the third floor, known as the Evening Calm Marine, opens up via the water of the ocean dropping to reveal a hidden entrance. Kurosaki is so amazed to see a hole in the sea that he wonders if this dungeon can be turned into a tourist spot. Something has to be at the bottom of this hole, so our hero decides to check it out. He continues to follow the path of the hole, and soon enough he comes across something spectacular. It's the Guardian Master not only of this floor, but of the Grand Blue Dungeon in itself. This is a sea dragon called the Leviathan, and it makes the giant octopus look like a fried calamari. The Leviathan takes a look at Kurosaki, and he worries that this is going to be a dangerous opponent. However, based on his battles so far, he feels even the sea dragon will be a simple case of all bark and no bite. With that, he unleashes his Cosmo gun and launches a deadly attack right on the Leviathan, hoping to one-shot it. However, the attack does nothing at all to the beast, and instead, it angers the sea dragon immensely. It does not take a genius to figure out that Kurosaki has messed up here, and the Leviathan unleashes an ultimate beam to finish off our hero. It's a deadly blast that wipes out everything in front of it, but our hero is able to survive the attack. Kurosaki may be alive for now, but how is he going to counter such a powerful opponent? With his maid wives waiting for him back home, should he stay and defeat the Leviathan, or should he just escape the dungeon with the help of Epsilon? Like, share, and subscribe if this story awakens the dark side within you. Please show these videos some love, otherwise I won't be able to continue with such intrusive thoughts. Okay then, I'll hopefully see you in the next one.